Welcome to ReadFlow Audiobook, where powerful ideas meet real transformation. Today's title is How Successful People Begin Their Week. Every week is a new opportunity, but how you begin it determines how you live it. Successful people don't drift into Monday, they prepare, plan, and move with purpose. In this audiobook, you'll discover the proven habits and mental frameworks that top performers use to start every week strong, focused, energized, and in control. Chapter 1: The Mindset of a Strong Beginning. Every week begins the same way: a sunrise, a new page, a chance to start over. But for most people, Monday doesn't feel like opportunity, it feels like recovery. They drag themselves from the weekend fog into a blur of routines, rushing, reacting, and already being behind. Successful people live differently. To them, a new week isn't something to survive, it's something to own. It's a fresh battlefield of choices, energy, and purpose. They don't stumble into it hoping things will go well. They engineer the outcome before the first coffee is even poured. This chapter is about that mindset, the mental shift that separates those who merely start the week from those who launch it. Because how you begin determines everything that follows. The power of the first 24 hours. Think of your week as a skyscraper. The first 24 hours are the foundation. If that base is solid, mentally, emotionally, and strategically, the rest of the structure stands strong. But if you rush it, ignore it, or start scattered, every floor above it wobbles. High achievers understand this deeply. That's why they protect the first day of the week with near religious focus. They know Monday is not just another day, it's momentum. When you waste Monday, you spend Tuesday catching up. When you own Monday, you carry energy into Friday. Most people say, I'll start strong next week. But successful people say, I start strong this week, right now. They don't postpone clarity, they create it. The Sunday reset ritual. Here's the truth: your Monday starts on Sunday. That's when successful people quietly prepare. While the world scrolls and binges, they reflect, realign, and plan. This is what separates reactive minds from intentional ones. Their Sunday reset usually includes 4 steps. Reflection: they look back. What worked last week? What didn't? Where did I grow? Planning: they design their next 7 days' priorities, projects, personal goals. Preparation: they set up their environment, clear workspace, plan meals, ready clothes. Mental reset: they rest intentionally, journaling, meditation, or gratitude to clear emotional clutter. They don't wait for the world to calm down. They create calm before the week begins. That calm turns into confidence. By the time Monday arrives, they're not racing against time, they're leading it. 3. The psychology of a clean start. Your brain loves beginnings. It craves structure, progress, and renewal. That's why fresh starts feel powerful. The first day of the year, the first page of a notebook, the first step of a new habit. Mondays carry that same potential, if you train your mind to see it. The average person associates Monday with stress, but successful people rewire that perception. Instead of the weekend's over, they think a new chapter begins. Instead of I have so much to do, they think I get to move my vision forward. Instead of back to the grind, they think back to build. This mental reframe is everything, because energy flows where focus goes. If your focus is on dread, your week will drain you. But if it's on direction, your week will drive you. The secret isn't loving Monday, it's mastering it. The Monday Morning Blueprint. Let's break down what a powerful Monday looks like in the real world. Most successful people begin with a structured morning ritual that sets the tone. It's not random, it's rhythm. A great Monday blueprint often includes silence, 10-15 minutes of solitude before checking any device. Movement, exercise to wake up the body and charge the brain. Clarity practice, journaling, meditation, or visualization to connect with purpose. Top 3 priorities. Identify 3 outcomes that define success for the day. Energy focus, a nutritious meal, deep breathing, or even a short walk to center energy. This isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. You don't have to do all of it, just enough to remind your brain, I'm in charge here. By the time the rest of the world hits snooze, the successful are already steering the ship. When you start strong, everything else becomes easier. When you start slow, every step feels heavier. Think of your week like a train. Getting it moving takes energy, but once it's rolling, it almost propels itself. That's why Monday matters more than you think. It's not just one day, it's the ignition. Start with power and your week carries that energy naturally. A great Monday isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things first. The rest follows like dominoes. Guarding your energy. Here's something every successful person knows: energy, not time, is your true currency. Time is fixed, 24 hours in a day, but energy fluctuates. If you protect your energy on Monday, you protect your week. That's why they say no off. They minimize meetings, distractions and mindless scrolling. They focus their Monday on creation, not consumption, because energy flows best when it's directed, not scattered. If you spend your first day reacting, you spend your next few recovering. But if you invest your energy intentionally, you multiply your results effortlessly. Simple, meaningful progress that builds confidence. It could be finishing a key task before noon. It could be completing a workout before breakfast. It could be sending that email they've been delaying. These early wins trigger dopamine, the motivation chemical. Your brain says, I'm capable, and once you feel capable, you act capable. One win fuels another. Before you know it, you've built a rhythm, and confidence becomes your compass. Every high performer talks to themselves differently. Where most people say, I hope this week goes well, successful people say, I'll make this week count. They replace doubt with direction, fear with focus, complaints with gratitude. Your words program your brain. Every time you declare intention, you strengthen identity. Every time you affirm purpose, you weaken excuses. By mastering your internal dialogue, you don't just control your week, you control your destiny. The weekly recommitment. Each week is a contract between you and your future. Every Monday, successful people silently sign that contract again. They recommit, not to perfection, but to progress. That recommitment sounds like this. I'll stay focused on what matters. I'll control what I can. I'll give my best even when it's hard. That mindset becomes their anchor. Even when plans fail or stress rises, they stay centered, because recommitment builds resilience. You don't have to have a perfect week. You just have to begin each one intentionally. Choose your top 3 outcomes. Win early. Protect your energy. Do this consistently, and watch what happens. You'll feel it, not just in your schedule, but in your spirit. You'll stop dreading Mondays and start dominating, because success isn't one big leap. It's a series of powerful beginnings, repeated every week. Closing the chapter. Success is built in cycles. Every week is a new chance to reset your path, reclaim your energy, and realign your goal. If you can master how you begin, you can master anything. The week doesn't control you, you control the week. So as you step into your next Monday, remember, this is not another day to endure. It's another opportunity to lead. Take that hour of focus, win that morning, begin the way successful people do, and soon, you'll live the way successful people live.
Chapter 2. The power of planning before you begin. Every successful week begins twice. First in the mind, then in reality. Before the action, there is always intention. Before the success, there is always structure. Most people enter the week hoping for productivity. Successful people design for it. They don't wait for clarity to appear. They build it, one deliberate choice at a time. This chapter is about that design, the art and discipline of planning before you begin. Because when your direction is clear, your confidence grows. And when your confidence grows, your momentum becomes unstoppable. 1. Why the plan comes before the push. You can hustle endlessly and still move in circles if you don't know where you're going. Effort without direction is exhaustion in disguise. That's why high performers plan before they act. Their week isn't a random collection of tasks. It's a system of intention. They decide their priorities before distractions decide for them. To them, a plan isn't a list. It's a compass. It tells them where to go, what to ignore, and why it matters. When you plan your week with purpose, you no longer chase time. Time starts working for you. So instead of starting Monday in chaos, you start in command. The Sunday blueprint, how the successful prepare. Imagine this. It's Sunday evening. The world is scrolling mindlessly, anxiety brewing for Monday. But you're calm, grounded, intentional. You're reviewing your goals. You're mapping your week. You're already winning before the starting gun fires. Successful people treat Sunday night as sacred ground, the prelude to excellence. They use it to create their weekly blueprint, a structured yet flexible plan that balances ambition with clarity. Here's what that blueprint often includes. Top 3 weekly goals. What 3 outcomes would make this week a victory? Non-negotiables. What absolutely must happen no matter what? Workouts, family time, study hours, time blocks. When will these priorities get your focused attention? Preparation checklist. What tools, materials, or information do you need ready? Anticipated obstacles. What might get in the way and how will you respond? This isn't just organization, it's mental armor, because when you walk into Monday already knowing what matters most, nothing can throw you off balance. They decide what task they'll start with. They decide what to eat, what to wear, and when to rest. Because every unnecessary choice drains focus. Every morning debate over simple things leaks energy. The mind loves structure. It thrives when it knows what to expect. That's why routines feel powerful, not restrictive. When you pre-decide, you free your mind for creation, not confusion. So plan your mornings, plan your focus sessions, plan your resets. Pre-decide once and save hundreds of decisions later. That's how successful people stay sharp when everyone else is overwhelmed. Or the 90-minute rule. High performers understand that focus is a resource, not an infinite stream. They don't try to work endlessly. They work intelligently. One of the most powerful tools they use is the 90-minute rule. Here's how it works. They identify the single most important task for the day, the one that truly moves their vision forward, and dedicate the first 90 minutes of focused, uninterrupted energy to it. No multitasking, no notifications, no distractions. And that's how successful people build unstoppable weeks, one powerful morning at a time. WOW. Time blocking for freedom. It sounds counterintuitive, but structure creates freedom. When your time is blocked, your mind relaxes. You no longer wonder what to do next. You just do it. You enter flow faster, and decision fatigue disappears. Successful people block their time around themes, not just tasks. For example, morning, creative or strategic work, writing, planning, designing. Midday, collaboration and communication. Afternoon, execution, review and organization. Evening, renewal, learning and rest. Each block has a purpose, and each purpose protects energy. They don't chase balance, they create boundaries, and those boundaries become the secret rhythm of progress. Each week they identify one major outcome that would define success. One meaningful project, one deep goal, one step that moves the needle. That's what guides their energy. Everything else fits around it, not above it. When you plan your week around your one thing, clarity replaces chaos. You no longer feel pulled in 10 directions. You move like a laser, direct, decisive, unstoppable. And over time, those one things compound into extraordinary results. The weekly review loop. What lessons can I apply next week? This is how they build momentum without burnout, by learning from experience rather than repeating it. They understand that planning isn't about control, it's about alignment. And the more they align their actions with their purpose, the more effortless success becomes. You shift from reacting to creating. You reclaim authorship over your life. This emotional alignment changes everything, because behind every disciplined person is a clear sense of meaning. They're not just checking boxes, they're building something that matters deeply to them. So when you plan your week, don't just list tasks, connect each one to why it matters. When your why is alive, your energy is automatic. Notifications, noise, emails, endless scrolling. The world is designed to fragment your attention, but successful people plan against that. They use focus windows. They silence unnecessary apps. They set office hours even for themselves. They don't depend on willpower. They design environments that make discipline easy. And that's the real secret. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer distractions, because clarity and chaos cannot coexist. Choose one, and the other disappears. The Sunday night rehearsal. One of the most powerful habits successful people swear by is the Sunday night rehearsal. Before the week starts, they visualize it. They see themselves executing their plan with calm focus and strength. They imagine handling challenges smoothly, staying composed and ending the week proud. This mental rehearsal primes their subconscious. By Monday morning, their mind already believes in the success that's coming. It's like programming your week before it even begins. You set the intention, and your actions naturally align with it. Try it 5 minutes every Sunday night. Eyes closed, vision sharp. See your best self leading the week. That visualization becomes a magnetic force, pulling your reality closer to your plan. The ripple effect. When you plan your week intentionally, the benefits ripple into every part of your life. Your relationships improve because you're present. Your stress drops because you're prepared. Your goals accelerate because you're consistent. And the people around you begin to feel it. Your calm, your confidence, your control. You become a leader not just by title, but by energy, because people follow those who know where they're going. And that's what planning gives you. Direction, and the quiet strength of certainty. Closing the chapter, the difference between a chaotic life and a powerful one often comes down to this: intention versus reaction. Planning doesn't make you rigid. It makes you ready. It transforms overwhelm into order and distraction into direction. Each week, take time to plan, even if it's just 30 minutes on Sunday night. Ask yourself, what matters most this week? What would make me proud by Friday? Then build around that answer, because success doesn't just happen. It's scheduled. And when you plan your week like a pro, you don't just get more done, you become more. So before the next week begins, prepare with precision, because the way you plan your week is the way you shape your life. Chapter 3. The Midweek Mastery. Staying focused when others fade. Monday gives you momentum. Tuesday tests your commitment. But Wednesday reveals your character. It's the invisible wall in every week, the point where excitement fades, fatigue creeps in, and distractions multiply. It's where most people slow down, lose rhythm, and start counting days instead of making them count. But successful people, they thrive here. They know that midweek isn't the time to relax, it's the time to reignite. Because while the world loses focus by Wednesday, the successful sharpen theirs. They turn the midweek slump into a midweek surge. Tuesday, movement. Wednesday, maintenance or meltdown. By midweek, energy dips. The brain begins to crave novelty. Discipline wavers. You start negotiating with your goals. Maybe I'll take it easy today. I've already done enough. I'll catch up tomorrow. That's the silent trap of mediocrity. Successful people see this moment differently. They know this is where greatness begins, not in the first burst of energy, but in the second wind. Anyone can start strong. Few can stay strong when the world slows down. The Wednesday wall isn't a barrier, it's a test of endurance. And winners don't go around it, they climb through it. They pause and ask, where is my energy leaking? What am I saying yes to that drains me? What habits recharge me, and which ones exhaust me? They treat their energy like a budget. If you spend it recklessly, you'll be bankrupt by Thursday. But if you invest it wisely, you'll finish the week wealthy in clarity and momentum. They refuel strategically with rest, nutrition, exercise, or creative breaks. They don't wait for burnout to remind them to breathe, because focus isn't about forcing yourself to work, it's about managing your energy so you want to keep going. Their midweek ritual often looks something like this. Step 1, review progress. What have I accomplished so far? Step 2, reconnect with purpose. Why does this work matter? Step 3, reprioritize. What deserves my energy in the next 72 hours? Step 4, remove the noise. What can I stop doing that isn't moving me forward? Next, step 5, renew focus. What one action will reignite my confidence? This process takes less than 30 minutes, but it transforms the rest of the week, because most people get stuck in the fog. The successful clear the fog and reclaim direction. They don't wait for motivation to return, they manufacture it. Motivation is temporary, discipline is permanent. Motivation whispers, I feel like it. Discipline declares, I'll do it anyway. Successful people train their minds to act beyond moods. They understand that emotions are weather, temporary, unpredictable, and fleeting. But discipline is climate, steady, intentional, and controlled. So when Wednesday fatigue hits, they don't negotiate with excuses. They follow their plan regardless. They've built their habits to protect them from their feeling. And that's the power of structure. It keeps you moving when motivation vanishes. Notifications, messages, meetings, and endless digital noise. It's a constant assault on your attention. Successful people defend their focus like a fortress. They schedule deep work blocks, sacred hours, where no distractions are allowed. They silence unnecessary notifications. They communicate boundaries clearly, I'm unavailable from 9 to 11. They treat their focus as a privilege, not a coincidence, because they understand that in a distracted world, attention is power, and those who can sustain it rule their result. If you want to be exceptional, protect your focus relentlessly, guard it like gold, because that's exactly what it is. It's not about surviving the week, it's about shaping it. They don't slow down after Wednesday, they shift gears. They ask themselves, what can I finish strong? What can I refine? How can I raise the standard before the weekend? This mindset transforms fatigue into fire, because success isn't just about how you start, it's about how you sustain. Instead of mindlessly pushing forward, successful people pause to assess what's working, what's not, what adjustments will create better flow. They don't take mistakes personally, they take them as feedback. This self-awareness keeps them agile. While others are stuck in frustration, they're refining their methods. They understand that progress isn't linear, it's iterative. Every small adjustment compounds into mastery. Reflection isn't slowing down, it's sharpening your direction. The fuel of gratitude. Here's a secret most people overlook. Gratitude restores focus faster than effort. When you feel scattered or overwhelmed, pause and list 3 things you're genuinely grateful for. Instantly, your brain shifts from scarcity to strength. Successful people practice gratitude midweek to reset perspective. They remember how far they've come, not just how far they have to go. They see challenges as growth, not punishment. And this mindset fuels endurance, because gratitude and frustration cannot coexist. One cancels the other. Gratitude gives your focus emotional oxygen. Completing a workout, hitting a personal best. Each small win tells your brain, I'm still progressing. That progress triggers dopamine, the motivation chemical, and suddenly, focus returns. Momentum doesn't come from massive breakthroughs, it comes from consistent micro-victories. Stack those wins, and by Friday you'll be unstoppable. You've drifted from why you started. Successful people know this. That's why they reconnect with their why midweek. They read their goals. They revisit their vision board. They remind themselves of the mission behind the routine. Because when purpose is alive, focus follows naturally. You stop asking, how can I stay motivated? And start asking, how can I honor my vision? 11. The power of recommitment. Wednesday is the perfect day to recommit to your goals, your discipline, and your standards. Every successful person knows this secret. Success isn't about never falling. It's about constantly recommitting. They use midweek as a checkpoint, not a collapse. They remind themselves, I'm still in control. They breathe, reset and go again, because recommitment is strength. It's the quiet decision to keep moving, no matter how tired you feel. And that single decision, repeated weekly, builds unshakable consistency. They ride the energy they've built since Monday, using focus and discipline to multiply results. Each win builds confidence, each task fuels the next. They end midweek not with exhaustion, but with quiet pride, because they know momentum is rare, and once it's built it's sacred. You don't coast through the week, you carry it with intentional rhythm. When you feel that slump coming, remember, it's not a signal to stop, it's a signal to rise. Take 5 minutes, reflect, refocus, recommit, remind yourself of your vision, and take one small action that realigns your path, because success isn't about speed, it's about stamina, and those who can stay focused through the fog will always find themselves standing tall when the week ends. So as you move into the heart of your week, don't just survive it, command it, master it, and let your discipline speak louder than your fatigue. This is how successful people stay unshakable, not because they never lose focus, but because they always find it again. Chapter 4. Protecting the momentum. How successful people build consistency through the week. By Thursday, the week starts to test you. The energy that fueled your Monday plans begins to fade. Distractions, action, fatigue whispers for comfort. Tasks you postponed earlier in the week start stacking up like a quiet storm. And here's where the real difference shows. Because success isn't built on how you start, it's built on how you finish. Most people crawl into the second half of the week surviving. The successful glide through it strategizing. They know momentum is fragile. It doesn't survive neglect. So they protect it, nurture it, and multiply it with small, deliberate habits that keep their energy high and their focus sharp, long after everyone else starts slowing down. Let's dive into how they do it. 1. The midweek audit. Refocus before you drift. Every Wednesday or Thursday, high performers pause for what I call a midweek momentum audit. They take 10 quiet minutes to reflect on 3 questions. What's working so far this week? What's draining my energy or distracting me? What must be finished before the weekend to feel proud, not guilty? This simple audit keeps them from drifting. It's not about judgment, it's about realignment. Most people wait until Friday to realize what they didn't do. Successful people catch it by midweek and course correct early. They know that even one small refocus can save hours of wasted motion, because drifting never feels like drifting. It feels like just one more email, just one more scroll, just 5 more minutes. But those minutes become momentum killers. The midweek audit is their reset button, short, sharp, effective. The power of micro-consistency. Successful people understand something most don't. Consistency is less about big moves and more about small repetitions. So they design their second half of the week around micro-consistency. Small, repeatable actions that keep the rhythm alive. It could be reviewing their priorities every morning before checking notifications, reflecting at night on one thing they did well that day. These tiny acts act as anchors. They're easy to do, and easy not to do, but when done daily, they build compound consistency. Think of it like pushing a flywheel. In the beginning, it's heavy and slow, but with consistent effort, it starts spinning on its own. By Thursday or Friday, momentum itself begins to carry you forward. That's the power of micro-consistency. Guarding the energy gates. One of the hidden secrets of successful people is how fiercely they protect their energy, especially later in the week. They know that time management is useless if your energy is empty, so instead of trying to manage the clock, they manage themselves. They ask, who drains my focus? What tasks can I delegate or delay? Where can I create breathing space to recharge? This isn't laziness, it's longevity. Most people treat Thursday and Friday like an emotional dump zone. They take on everyone's problems, respond to every message, and end the week exhausted. Successful people treat energy as currency. They spend it wisely. They know if they arrive at Friday drained, their weekend recovery will be shallow, and their next Monday will start in deficit. So they do something rare. They plan rest as strategically as they plan work. They'll block 30 minutes for solitude, silence or reflection. They'll go for a walk, journal, stretch or disconnect from digital noise. This intentional energy protection ensures their inner battery stays charged, not for survival but for sustainability. You want every task polished, every plan flawless, but successful people know perfection is a trap disguised as progress. They live by the rule of momentum over perfection. If something is 80% ready, they ship it. If a meeting can be summarized in a message, they send it. If a task is messy but moving forward, they let it evolve naturally. They understand the real enemy isn't imperfection, it's inertia. Progress compounds but hesitation multiplies. When you focus on momentum, you stay in motion, and motion feeds motivation. You don't wait to feel ready or find time. You act, and readiness grows from the action itself. Successful people know that at the end of the week, done beats perfect every single time. The late week ritual, finishing strong. Here's something fascinating about high achievers. They treat Friday like a launch pad, not a landing strip. For most people, Friday means slowing down. For successful people, it's a setup day for the next week. They review, what was accomplished this week? What didn't go as planned, and what can I learn? What should I prepare now so Monday starts smooth, not stressful? This reflection isn't just about organization, it's about ownership. They finish the week with clarity and closure. They tie loose ends, delegate what can't be done, and set intentions for the next cycle. That's how they protect their momentum, by carrying it across the weekend, ready to reignite instantly. The emotional reset. Detach to recharge. Success isn't sustainable without emotional resets. Every high performer knows that disconnection is part of discipline. They take time at the end of the week to unplug, to breathe, reflect, and feel human again. It could be as simple as turning off all work notifications by a certain hour, journaling about wins, gratitude and lessons learned, spending time in nature or doing something that has no productivity goal, just joy. Because success isn't just measured in results, it's measured in recovery. The ability to renew emotionally gives successful people an unfair advantage. It's why they return every Monday with fresh clarity while others drag last week's exhaustion into a new one. The secret to consistency: self-respect. At the core of all this, consistency, reflection, protection of energy, lies one truth: consistency is a reflection of self-respect. When you respect yourself, you keep your promises, not because someone's watching, but because you said you would. You eat well not to impress, but to feel good. You plan not for control but for clarity. You rest not out of guilt, but out of wisdom. Self-respect creates internal alignment. When your actions match your intentions, you build inner peace, and from that peace, momentum naturally flows. That's why successful people are so consistent, not because they have superhuman discipline, but because they've built trust with themselves. They know momentum is built one decision at a time, one honest reflection, one micro win, one refocus. By mastering the later half of the week, they don't just end strong, they begin stronger next time. Because success isn't found in the noise of the start, it's hidden in the quiet discipline of the finish. And that's the truth of consistency. The week doesn't wear you down when you lead it. It lifts you up when you master it. Chapter 5: The Weekend Blueprint. Rest, recharge and rise stronger. For most people, the weekend is a sigh of relief, a break from the grind. For successful people, it's far greater. It's a rhythm reset, a sacred window where recovery meets preparation. They don't treat weekends as a way to escape their week. They treat them as the secret weapon to design the next one. They know if Monday starts sluggish, it's not because Monday is cursed. It's because the weekend was wasted. The weekend is where clarity is rebuilt, energy is restored, and vision is renewed. Let's uncover how successful people use these 48 hours not to slow down but to rise higher. The art of the intentional disconnect. The first thing successful people master is the art of the intentional disconnect. When the week ends, they don't drag their unfinished thoughts into their rest. They close loops. Before fairy ends, they take a few minutes to organize their workspace, clear their inbox, and write down lingering to-dos. They don't carry the weight of the week into their mind. This ritual does something powerful. It signals the brain that the work chapter is closed. You can't truly recharge if you're still mentally logged in. So they unplug, not just physically but psychologically. They switch from doing mode to being mode. They spend time in stillness, silence, or simple joy, reading, walking, or connecting with loved ones. This disconnection isn't laziness, it's maintenance for the mind. Because if you never unplug, you'll confuse exhaustion with purpose. And when exhaustion becomes your normal, burnout becomes your destiny. Successful people understand rest isn't the opposite of work, it's the foundation of great work. Successful people use this time to perform an energy audit, a quiet self-check that answers 3 crucial questions. This simple reflection helps them refine their personal energy systems. They learn what activities recharge them. Maybe it's exercise, nature, laughter, solitude, or creative play. And they protect those rituals. They also identify what's burning them out: too many commitments, constant notifications, poor sleep, and they make small, smart corrections. This weekly audit keeps them operating like precision machines, efficient, light, and centered. Because high performance isn't just about pushing hard, it's about recovering well. Take 3. The recovery rituals of high performers. Here's something fascinating. High achievers have rituals of rest that are as deliberate as their rituals of productivity. They treat recovery as a skill, not a reward. Some have a digital Sabbath, 24 hours without social media, emails, or screens. Some spend Sunday mornings in nature, hiking or walking alone to reset mentally. Some cook a meal slowly, meditate, play with their kids, or immerse themselves in music or art. These moments of genuine presence reconnect them to themselves. The weekend becomes a chance to remember. They also focus on active recovery, the kind that restores energy, not just kills time. Watching mindless content might numb the brain, but it doesn't heal it. Rest that renews is intentional. It fuels creativity, peace, and perspective. So they choose rest that nourishes: sunlight, good food, gratitude, laughter, movement, reflection. Every act recharges their internal battery, not through escape, but through alignment. The weekend mindset shift from escape to expansion. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's simply silence. They use the weekend not just to recover physically, but to feed their deeper identity, the part of them that doesn't have a title, deadline, or meeting. That's why many high achievers spend part of their weekend learning, not because they have to, but because they're curious. They might listen to audiobooks, take notes, study success stories, or explore something entirely outside their field. It keeps their minds expanding, and expansion is fuel. It's what turns routine into growth. So while most people use weekends to forget who they are, successful people use weekends to remember who they're becoming. The power of preparation. The 1% Sunday rule. One of the most powerful habits of successful people is what I call the 1% Sunday rule. It's simple but life-changing. They spend just 1% of their weekend, about 15 minutes, preparing for the week ahead. They don't overplan or obsess. They just create alignment. They might write down their top 3 priorities for the week, schedule key focus blocks in their calendar, review personal goals or habits, set intentions for how they want to feel, not just what they want to do. This small act of preparation creates psychological clarity. It tells the brain, I'm ready. So instead of waking up Monday morning in panic, they wake up with direction. The 1% Sunday rule transforms Monday anxiety into Monday advantage. Because success doesn't start when the alarm goes off. It starts when you decide to prepare. Like sex, relationships, reflection, and realignment. Successful people also use weekends to nurture something that many overlook: relationship. They know that true success isn't just about financial or professional growth. It's about emotional richness. They invest time in meaningful connections, family dinners, laughter with friends, heartfelt conversation. They're fully present. No phones, no multitasking, just human presence. This kind of connection is deeply restorative. It resets your emotional equilibrium. Because no matter how strong your drive, burnout will always catch you if you're emotionally starved. They also take time for self-reflection, asking questions like, what am I proud of this week? What am I grateful for right now? What do I want to improve next? These reflections turn the weekend into a mirror, helping them see the story they're living and consciously shape it. That's what keeps them grounded amidst growth. The weekend philosophy: rest without regret. If there's one thing successful people refuse to do, it's feel guilty for resting. They understand that true rest requires permission. They don't apologize for slowing down. They don't treat relaxation as weakness. They see it as wisdom. They've learned that when you honor your limits expand. When you rest deeply, you rise stronger. So they rest without guilt, but with intention. They enjoy without overindulging. They pause without losing direction. Because the goal isn't to escape your life on weekends. It's to return to it renewed, inspired, and ready. They deliberately cultivate the feeling they want to carry into the next week: clarity, confidence, peace, gratitude. If your weekend is mindful, you'll step into Monday with control. So they choose their emotional state like an outfit. They prepare it in advance. They journal, visualize, pray, meditate, not as routine but as ritual. They end Sunday evening in calm, not in dread. They align mind, body, and emotion into a single powerful frequency: readiness. Success in the end isn't just about what you do from Monday to Friday. It's about how you recover on Saturday and Sunday. Because if your weekends are weak, your weeks will always begin broken. The truly successful treat weekends like sacred ground, where balance is restored, gratitude blooms, and purpose sharpens. They don't count the days until Monday. They create Mondays worth waking up for. So as this chapter closes, remember this: don't just rest, renew. Don't just relax, realign. Don't just prepare, become. Because every weekend holds a choice: escape the week that was, or build the week that's coming. Successful people choose the latter, and that's why they keep winning long after everyone else stops trying. Chapter 6. The Inner Fortress. How successful people build emotional resilience and mental toughness. Every week brings its share of storms, unexpected setbacks, disappointments, criticism, delays, moments that can rattle your emotions and break your rhythm if you're not grounded. Most people react. Successful people respond. That's the difference between chaos and control, burnout and balance, quitting and conquering. Because here's the truth. Success isn't built by avoiding difficulty, it's built by mastering how you handle it. High performers know that emotional control isn't something you're born with. It's something you train. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. This is how they build their inner fortress. Strong enough to stay calm in chaos, composed in conflict, and clear in crisis. The first rule of resilience: separate the event from the emotion. The moment something goes wrong, a meeting fails, a plan collapses, someone disappoints you, the average mind fuses the event with emotion. I failed. I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. But successful people pause before they personalize. They separate the event from the emotion. They ask, what actually happened? What does this mean objectively, not emotionally? This small pause creates space, and in that space lies power. Between what happens and how you respond, there's always a moment of choice. That's where resilience lives. In the pause between stimulus and response. By choosing that pause, they regain control. They can think clearly instead of reacting impulsively. They shift from why me to what now, from victim to strategist, from panic to perspective. That's emotional intelligence in action, and it's the cornerstone of mental toughness. They don't see failure as a wall. They see it as a mirror. When something goes wrong, they don't waste energy on blame. They study it. They ask, what can I learn from this? What skill was I missing? What pattern is repeating itself? This mindset, the feedback frame, turns every difficulty into a lesson. They understand that resilience isn't about being unshaken. It's about bouncing back stronger and wiser every single time. They know every setback carries a seed of strength. Every frustration is a classroom. By reframing failure as feedback, they rob difficulty of its power. Instead of falling apart, they evolve forward. The emotional energy principle: control what you carry. Emotional resilience isn't about never feeling. It's about not carrying what doesn't serve you. Successful people know that emotional energy is like luggage. The more you hold on to, the slower you move. So they travel light. When frustration hits, they process it, not suppress it. They reflect, write, talk, or breathe through it. But they don't store it. They understand that suppressed emotion doesn't disappear. It just leaks into performance. It shows up in irritation, fatigue, and poor decisions. So they have emotional hygiene habits. They meditate, they journal, they work out, they step outside when tension rises. Each of these actions clears emotional static and restores mental clarity, because a cluttered mind can't lead effectively, and a leader who doesn't manage emotions will always be managed by them. They center themselves first. It could be 5 minutes of meditation, prayer, breathwork, journaling, or visualization. The method doesn't matter. The intention does. They're conditioning their mind for calm and control before chaos begins. They tell themselves, no matter what happens today, I'll respond with clarity. No matter who tests me, I won't lose my peace. No matter how the day unfolds, I stay grounded. That's how they win the day before it even starts. This ritual is their shield, because when the world tests them, they're not reacting to it. They're acting from a centered state. It's not about ignoring emotion. It's about guiding it. That's the essence of emotional mastery, and it begins each morning before the world even knows you're awake. The Stoic shift, focusing on what's within control. Every successful person lives by a quiet, ancient truth. You can't control everything that happens, but you can always control how you interpret and respond. This idea, deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, frees them from emotional chaos. They don't waste energy worrying about things beyond their influence. They channel it into what they can actually shape. When the external world spins out of control, they turn inward and anchor themselves in discipline. They ask, what's within my circle of control right now? And that simple question restores their power instantly, because control, in truth, isn't about dominating the outside world. It's about mastering the inner one. Takes the bounce back habit. Reset fast. Not perfectly. When something goes wrong, average people take days to recover. Successful people reset in minutes. They've trained their nervous system to bounce back quickly. They'll take a brief walk, breathe deeply, write down what happened, reframe it, and move forward. They don't let one bad moment ruin an entire day. They don't let one bad day ruin an entire week, because they understand this. The faster you reset, the stronger you stay. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about how quickly you get back up. They've learned to reset fast, because they don't attach their identity to outcome. Failure doesn't define them. Response does. That's what keeps their emotional temperature low and their mental clarity high. Successful people have mastered their inner dialogue. When most people say, "I can't believe this happened," they say, "Okay, this happened. What's my next move?" When most people think, "I can't handle this," they say, "I've handled worse." They replace emotional exaggeration with grounded truth, because the mind believes what it repeatedly hears, especially from you. That's why self-talk isn't just a motivational gimmick. It's emotional architecture. Your words build your mental house, and successful people make sure their words make them stronger, not smaller. When everything is falling apart, people look to those who remain calm. That's emotional leadership, the ability to project steadiness when everyone else is anxious. Successful people know their calm becomes contagious. Their composure stabilizes teams, families. They don't let external panic infect their internal peace. They become the thermostat, not the thermometer. While others reflect the chaos, they regulate it. This calm confidence isn't arrogance, it's maturity. It's awareness that emotions spread like fire, and someone has to keep the flame steady. That's what makes leaders magnetic. Not just what they do, but how they stay composed while doing it. Resilience as a lifestyle. For successful people, resilience isn't a reaction, it's a way of life. They eat, sleep, move and think in ways that build mental endurance. They invest in their mindset daily. They read books, listen to powerful ideas, surround themselves with strong thinkers, and practice gratitude, because gratitude strengthens emotional immunity. You can't be simultaneously grateful and resentful. You can't be thankful and panicked at the same time. So they start and end their days with gratitude. Not as a cliche, but as a chemical shift. Gratitude rewires the brain toward optimism, and optimism in turn builds emotional endurance. The ultimate power, inner peace over outer pressure. At the core of emotional resilience is a simple, quiet truth. The goal isn't to control everything around you, it's to remain peaceful within yourself. No matter what happens, they don't chase chaos. They don't let circumstances dictate their emotional weather. They know storms will come. They always do. But when your roots are deep, the wind doesn't scare you. That's the power they carry. Calm in the noise, clarity in the confusion, conviction in the doubt. Because success in the end isn't about how much you achieve. It's about how much peace you can hold while achieving it. That's what separates the successful from the scattered. Not luck, not talent, but inner control. The ability to stay steady when life gets stormy. And that grace comes from resilience, from the daily decision to remain grounded, no matter what comes your way. Because when you can stay calm, you can stay clear. And when you can stay clear, you can stay in control. That's the secret, the inner fortress of success.
Chapter 7. The Fire Within. How successful people maintain purpose and motivation through the week. By the time midweek turns into Thursday and the finish line of Friday appears on the horizon, most people are simply trying to survive. Energy dips, motivation fades, and the spark that once fueled Monday's optimism often begins to dim. But for successful people, this is the moment where their purpose roars back to life. They don't slow down as the week winds on, they ignite. Why? Because motivation for them isn't just an emotional high, it's a deep, unshakable sense of why. And that why doesn't depend on convenience, comfort, or mood. It's the silent engine that powers them through every day, even when their energy is low and the results aren't visible yet. Let's explore how successful people sustain that inner drive, how they stay connected to their purpose, keep their vision vivid, and finish the week as strong as they began it. They reconnect to their why daily. Every morning,
Successful people remind themselves why they do what they do. They understand that purpose leaks. Life's noise, stress, and routine can blur the meaning behind our actions. That's why they consciously return to their reason. It could be a personal mission, a vision of who they want to become, or the legacy they want to leave behind, but they never lose sight of it. Before diving into their to-do list, they pause, breathe, and remind themselves this is why it matters. That daily reconnection acts like charging a battery. Without it, effort becomes mechanical, but with it, even mundane tasks regain purpose. But successful people reverse that. They act first, knowing that action creates energy. They understand a profound truth. Motivation is unreliable, but discipline is immortal. When you take consistent action, even when you don't feel like it, momentum builds, and momentum feeds motivation. That's how successful people transform sluggish Thursdays into productive masterpieces. They don't wait for inspiration to appear. They summon it through movement, progress, and repetition. They live by the mantra, don't wait to feel ready, act and readiness will follow. Instead of aiming vaguely for a productive week, they target specifics. Finish this project draft by noon. Send the proposal before lunch. Make 3 key calls today. Each small victory builds confidence. Each win creates momentum. Micro goals convert overwhelm into clarity. They prevent burnout because the mind can focus on one step, one task, one small success. And that repeated rhythm keeps motivation alive. They create a midweek ritual to refuel spiritually. Success isn't only about systems and schedules. It's also deeply spiritual, and successful people honor that truth. Some meditate, some journal, others walk, pray, or spend quiet time away from screen. But the essence is the same. They pause to realign. Midweek, when fatigue threatens and distractions multiply, they step back to breathe and remember what really matters. This isn't wasted time, it's recalibration. It's the mental reset that allows clarity and passion to return stronger. It's in these moments of stillness that their deepest insights often arise. Sometimes they realize you don't need more time, you just need more alignment. 5. They protect their energy like treasure. Motivation dies quickly when your energy is scattered. Successful people understand that their energy is their most valuable currency, and they guard it fiercely. They don't say yes to every request. They don't spend hours doom scrolling or engaging in draining conversation. They curate their environment carefully, choosing music, people, and habits that elevate, not exhaust. They also recognize the difference between being busy and being effective. Busyness feels urgent, effectiveness feels intentional. And when you're intentional, motivation stays stable. Where your attention goes, your energy flows and results follow. That's why they treat focus as sacred. It's how they sustain power through the week without burning out. They celebrate progress, not just completion. For most people, motivation collapses because they wait for the big win to feel satisfied. Successful people know better. They celebrate progress, not just completion. Every meaningful step, every email sent, every workout completed, every uncomfortable conversation faced, is a brick in their foundation, and they take a moment to acknowledge it. This doesn't mean throwing a party after every task. It means silently recognizing effort. I showed up today. I gave my best. I'm proud of that. This quiet self-acknowledgement fuels consistency, and consistency builds mastery. They reframe challenges as proof of growth. Motivation collapses when we interpret challenges as failure. Successful people flip that script. They see difficulty as proof they're expanding. Every setback, every obstacle, every exhausting day, it's not punishment, it's resistance training for the soul. Challenges become meaningful, even exciting, because they represent progress. This is how successful people endure. They find meaning inside the struggle itself. Successful people don't just think about goals, they see them, smell them, feel them. They use visualization as a daily motivator, a way to bridge the gap between today's grind and tomorrow's success. Some keep vision boards, Others read affirmation. Many replay mental movies of what their future looks like and let that emotion pull them forward. It's not fantasy, it's training. The brain moves toward what it vividly imagines. So when the week grows long, they revisit their mental movie and instantly, motivation rekindles. 9. They surround themselves with energy givers. No one sustains motivation in isolation. Successful people build environments filled with people who remind them who they are and who they're becoming. They seek out energy givers, not energy drainers. They stay close to people who are hungry, grateful and forward-moving, because energy is contagious. Spend enough time around driven people, and drive becomes your default state. As the saying goes, and successful people, they go far. 10. They end each week with reflection and gratitude. As the week closes, successful people don't just collapse into the weekend. They look back at what worked, what didn't, what they learned, and what they'll improve next time. Then they express gratitude, not just for wins, but for the lessons, the effort, and the simple privilege of progress. That gratitude resets their emotional system. It keeps them humble, centered, and ready to rise again on Monday. Final thoughts. Keeping the fire alive. Motivation isn't about hype. It's not about pumping yourself up. It's about living with clarity, purpose, and discipline. Successful people maintain motivation, not because they're special, but because they've built systems around their purpose. They protect their mind. They nurture their energy. They honor their mission. If you take one lesson from this chapter, let it be this: motivation fades when life becomes reactive. It thrives when life becomes intentional. So as you move through your week, keep your why close, your actions aligned, and your energy sacred. That's how you'll not only begin your week like a successful person, but live every day like one.
Chapter 8.
The Ripple Effect. How successful people lead others and elevate their environment while continuing to grow themselves. By the time you've reached the later stages of your week, or your personal journey, a shift often occurs. You begin to realize that success is no longer just about you. It's about the energy you bring into every room, the example you set, and the lives you quietly influence without even realizing it. The truly successful understand that growth reaches its highest form, not when it's hoarded, but when it's shared. Their impact doesn't come from commanding authority. It comes from embodying excellence so powerfully that others rise just by being around them. In this chapter, we'll dive deep into how successful people lead, not from ego or dominance, but from alignment, clarity, and authenticity. You'll see how they elevate everyone around them while still evolving themselves, because the secret of lasting influence is this: the more you give, the more you grow. 1. They lead by energy, not title. True leaders don't need to announce their position. Their presence announces it for them. Walk into any room and you'll notice some people drain energy, others lift it. Successful people consciously choose to be the latter. They've mastered the art of emotional intelligence, understanding that people rarely remember your words, but they always remember how you made them feel. They radiate calm under pressure, clarity in confusion, and encouragement when others waver. That emotional steadiness becomes magnetic. People naturally trust and follow those who bring order to chaos. Leadership, they understand, isn't about controlling others. It's about influencing outcomes through energy and example. They don't force inspiration, they become it. They build environments that elevate everyone. A powerful leader doesn't just rise alone, they create an atmosphere where others can rise too. Whether it's a team, a family, or a social circle, they ask, does this environment nurture growth or stunt it? They remove gossip, negativity, and drama like toxins, replacing them with clarity, communication, and encouragement. They know that growth flourishes in an environment of safety and challenge. Safety to express, challenge to improve, and they protect that balance fiercely. If you want excellence, they say, build a space where people feel inspired, not intimidated. They lead through listening. Many think leadership is about speaking, but the most successful know it's about listening. They listen deeply, not to reply but to understand. They make others feel seen and heard, which creates instant trust. And from that trust, influence naturally flows. They ask powerful questions like, Vyajik, what's standing in your way? What do you need to succeed? What can I do better to support you? That humility disarms ego. It turns leadership into partnership, because successful people realize that leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about helping others find their own voice. They share it freely, not because they seek praise, but because they understand abundance. They know that teaching reinforces learning. Each time they mentor someone, they deepen their own understanding. They're not threatened by rising talent. They create it. They push others to excel, knowing that another person's growth doesn't diminish theirs, it multiplies it. Their success echoes through the people they uplift. 5. They stay grounded in growth. Ironically, the more successful people become, the more they double down on humility. They know that leadership isn't a finish line, it's a continuous test of character. The moment you think you've arrived, you begin to decline. That's why they remain students. Even when they're teachers, they read, they seek mentors, they learn from failure, and they welcome feedback, even when it stings. Their mantra is simple: the higher I rise, the deeper I must root myself. That humility keeps their ego in check, and their progress unstoppable. Successful people understand that micromanagement kills creativity. Instead of dictating, they delegate. Instead of imposing, they inspire. They hire people smarter than themselves and give them space to flourish. They set clear expectations, but trust others to figure out the how. That empowerment breeds ownership, and ownership breeds excellence. When people feel trusted, they give their best, not because they have to, but because they want. The measure of a true leader, they say, is not how many followers they have, but how many leaders they create. They don't avoid difficult conversations. They approach them with calm and clarity. They focus on solutions, not blame. When emotions run high, they anchor themselves in emotional intelligence. They know that reacting impulsively can destroy relationships in seconds, but responding wisely can strengthen them for years. They model the behavior they expect. Leadership without example is hypocrisy. Successful people never ask of others what they won't do themselves. They show up early, stay consistent, and embody the standards they preach. Their life becomes a silent sermon, a daily reminder that excellence isn't told, it's shown. Whether it's honesty, punctuality, integrity, or discipline, they lead through action. And that's why their influence endures long after their words fade. They balance empathy with accountability. Empathy makes leadership human. Accountability makes it effective. Successful people master both. They care about people's struggles, but they don't enable excuses. They offer compassion without lowering the bar. When someone falls short, they address it directly, not harshly, but truthfully, because truth delivered with respect is one of the greatest gifts a leader can give. They don't rescue people from responsibility. They remind them of their capability. They lead from vision, not ego. At the core of every successful leader lies a clear vision, not for status or recognition, but for impact. They see the bigger picture, what their team, business, or mission could become, and they communicate that vision so vividly that others begin to see it too. But here's the secret: they don't make the vision about them. It's always about us. They speak in terms of collective success, shared pride, and mutual growth. Their humility makes others feel part of something larger, and that's where unity is born. Final thoughts. The ripple effect of real leadership. The highest form of success isn't personal achievement, it's collective elevation. Successful people understand that their true legacy isn't the wealth they accumulate, but the lives they transform. They know that leadership is less about standing above others and more about standing with them, guiding them upward. They grow others because growth is contagious. They build environments of excellence because greatness can't thrive in isolation. And most importantly, they never stop evolving. They remain curious, compassionate, and courageous because they know that leading others requires leading themselves first. So as you continue through your week, ask yourself, are you just succeeding for yourself, or are you helping others rise too? Because the moment your success begins to lift others, that's when your greatness truly begins.
Chapter 9. The Reset Ritual. How successful people reflect, realign, and rebuild their energy every week to sustain long-term growth.
By the end of every week, when most people collapse into exhaustion or drift into distraction, the truly successful do something different. They pause, not to escape, not to zone out, but to reset. They understand that growth without reflection becomes chaos. Momentum without recalibration eventually leads to burnout. So while others stumble into the weekend, they treat this time as sacred, a ritual of reflection, realignment, and renewal. This chapter is about that art. It's about how the most accomplished people maintain unstoppable progress without burning out, how they stay balanced, grounded, and fully charged for the long game. They treat the week as a complete cycle. To the average person, a week is a blur of random days. To successful people, it's a structured rhythm, a cycle of build, perform, reflect, reset. They see each week as a mini version of their life. Monday is birth, fresh beginnings. Midweek is challenge, momentum and adaptation. The weekend is renewal, reflection and recovery. They don't just live their weeks, they design them. Each Friday, they close the loop by reviewing what worked, what didn't, and what needs to evolve. That intentional rhythm prevents time from slipping away unnoticed, because for them, the week isn't just something to get through, it's something to master. If you can win your week, they say, you can win your life. Successful people don't waste time beating themselves up over what went wrong. They study it. They have powerful, simple questions. They look at the data of their behavior without emotional fog. They treat themselves like scientists observing a subject. Detached, curious, precise. This objectivity keeps them from falling into shame or denial. It turns failure into feedback, because in their world, everything is data. Everything can be improved. They know productivity isn't about how many hours you have, it's about how much focus and vitality you bring to those hours. So during their weekly reflection, they ask, when did I feel most energized this week? When did I feel drained? Which people, tasks, or habits give me power and which ones steal it? Once they identify those energy patterns, they optimize. They schedule high-impact work during their peak hours. They move low-energy tasks to slower periods. They protect mornings for creativity and evenings for recovery. That's why they don't just survive weeks, they flow through them with precision. Once successful people understand what worked and what didn't, they adjust decisively. If they've drifted off course, they don't panic. They simply course correct. They might reset priorities, rearrange goals or change environment. They ask, is how I'm living aligned with who I want to become? If the answer is no, they realign immediately. That constant recalibration keeps them from running fast in the wrong direction. It ensures every week brings them closer to their long-term vision. They have a shutdown ritual. When Friday evening arrives, successful people don't just close their laptop, they close their week. They follow a simple but powerful ritual. Release. What stress or unfinished emotions do I need to let go of? Reset. What intentions do I want to carry into next week? They might journal, meditate, or go for a quiet walk, but they always mark the end of their work week with intentional closure. This ritual sends a powerful signal to the brain. It's time to rest. You've done enough for now. That clarity allows them to detach, recharge, and return sharper than ever. To successful people, it's strategy. They treat recovery as a non-negotiable part of high performance, the same way athletes treat sleep and nutrition. They rest with intention. No endless scrolling, no guilt, just quality recovery. Time in nature, family connection, deep sleep, creative hobbies, silence. They know that the brain restores itself through contrast, periods of intensity followed by genuine rest. They rest so they can attack again. If you don't schedule rest, they say, your body will schedule it for you through burnout. 7. They reconnect with gratitude. Reflection without gratitude becomes sterile. Gratitude without reflection becomes shallow. Successful people merge the two. At the end of each week, they intentionally count blessings, not out of cliché, but as a mental recalibration. They focus on what's working, what they're grateful for, and who supported them. That shifts their mind from scarcity to abundance, from pressure to perspective. Gratitude recharges motivation because it reminds them that their life is already filled with progress. They're not chasing fulfillment. They're expanding it. It's a quiet but powerful shift. From striving to appreciating. From chasing to choosing. They set intentions, not just goals for the next week. As they prepare for the next cycle, successful people don't just list tasks. They set intentions. What attitude will I bring into each day? How can I show up with more presence, more patience, more power? Those inner commitments shape how they handle external challenges. Because performance doesn't start with what you do, it starts with how you show up. Intentions align identity with action, ensuring the next week begins from clarity, not chaos. They don't confuse busyness with progress. One of the biggest traps of modern success is equating movement with momentum. Successful people are ruthless about avoiding that trap. Their weekly reflection helps them distinguish between what's truly productive and what's just noise. They ask, what did I do this week that actually moved me closer to my goals? Then they cut the rest. This discipline creates focus, and focus creates freedom. Because when everything matters, nothing truly does. By eliminating busy work, they reclaim the one thing that matters most: time spent with purpose. 10. They reconnect to their vision. Before the week closes, successful people revisit their larger vision. They look beyond the deadlines, beyond the checklists, beyond the noise. They reconnect to the mountain they're climbing, the dream they're building step by step. They imagine the future they're moving toward and remind themselves every small effort this week mattered. That vision is what reignites their spirit. It transforms fatigue into pride. It turns reflection into fuel for what's next. I'm not just working through weeks. They remind themselves, I'm building a life. Final thoughts. The power of the reset. Reflection is not the end of productivity, it's the root of it. Every week successful people pause not because they're tired, but because they understand rhythm. They know life works best in cycles of focus and flow, push and pause, work and renewal. They don't fear slowing down. They respect it, because that stillness gives birth to clarity, creativity, and confidence. If you want sustainable success, success that feels fulfilling, not draining, learn to reflect deeply, reset fully, and realign intentionally. That's how successful people avoid burnout and stay sharp year after year. That's how they remain grounded while the world spins fast. A powerful week doesn't end in exhaustion, they say. It ends in alignment. So before you step into your next week, take a breath, reflect on what you've done, release what no longer serves you, reconnect to your vision. Then, when Monday dawns again, rise renewed, focused, and ready to begin another week like the most successful people do. Chapter 10. The System of Success. Building a life that runs on purpose, momentum, and mastery. By now you've walked through how successful people start their weeks with intention, move through each day with focus, lead with energy, and end with reflection and renewal. But here's the ultimate truth. True success isn't built in bursts. It's built on systems. Systems are what turn motivation into momentum, habits into lifestyle, and goals into identity. In this final chapter, we're going to bring everything together. You'll discover how successful people weave all these principles: reflection, discipline, clarity, purpose, and leadership into a seamless rhythm that sustains them not just for a week, but for life. Because success, real success, is not about intensity, it's about consistency. And that consistency comes from a system, one designed with awareness, built with purpose, and lived with integrity. When they build their life around rhythms, not randomness. Successful people don't live reactively, they build rhythms. They know life flows best when energy moves in cycles, just like nature, just like the tides. So they don't force constant productivity, they design seasons for different energies, focus seasons for deep work, rest seasons for recovery, reflection seasons for recalibration, growth seasons for learning and expansion. They live in flow with these rhythms, never resisting the need to pause or accelerate. That balance creates long-term stability. I don't chase balance, they say. I create rhythm. And it's that rhythm, not willpower, that sustains them through the decades. They remove the friction between intention and action. For instance, they start every morning with a short focus ritual. No phone, just clarity and gratitude. They use consistent time blocks for their highest priorities. They have fixed shutdown routines to signal when work ends and rest begins. They design systems for every domain of life. Success in one area can collapse if other areas crumble. That's why successful people build holistic systems for every domain of life. Their health, scheduled workouts, meal prep, recovery windows. Their mindset, morning affirmations, learning habits, silence rituals. Their relationships, intentional check-ins, gratitude messages, date nights. Their finances, automated savings, investments, reviews. Their personal growth, reading goals, coaching sessions, journaling. They don't rely on memory or emotion. They rely on structure. The key isn't perfection, it's design. Systems evolve as they grow, but the principle stays the same. Build frameworks that serve your future self. Don't build your life on willpower, they say. Build it on design. 4. They think in systems, not situation. If they're stressed, they don't just rest. They redesign their week to include recovery time. If they procrastinate, they don't just force themselves. They optimize their environment for focus. If they miss goals, they don't just try harder. They refine their tracking system. This mindset shift from situational reaction to systemic creation is what separates sustainable success from temporary achievement. Systems are invisible leverage. Once built, they carry you further than motivation ever could. They connect daily actions to a larger identity. The strongest system in the world collapses if it isn't fueled by identity. Successful people root their systems in who they want to become, not just what they want to do. They stop saying, "I want to be successful," and start living as, "I am someone who follows through." They stop chasing motivation and start embodying discipline. Each habit becomes an expression of identity. Waking up early isn't just a task, it's who they are. Reflecting weekly isn't an obligation, it's their nature. Leading with empathy isn't strategy, it's character. When identity drives action, consistency becomes effortless, because now it's not about performance, it's about alignment. They align their environment with their vision. No system survives in the wrong environment. Successful people engineer spaces that support their habits. They remove friction and temptation, clutter, distractions, negativity. They surround themselves with cues that remind them of their values. Inspiring books, journals, quotes, playlists, even the people they keep close. Their home, workspace, and digital world all mirror their direction. Because they know, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. So successful people schedule weekly and monthly review loops, structured check-ins with themselves. They ask, is this system still serving my purpose? Where am I wasting energy? What needs to evolve for this next chapter of my life? This self-audit ensures they never drift into complacency. They adapt like living organisms. Systems evolve with experience. That's why their success feels fresh, alive, and sustainable year after year. They make growth predictable. When systems are in place, growth stops being random. It becomes predictable. Successful people don't wonder if they'll improve. They know they will because their habits guarantee it. Their mornings begin with focus, their weeks end with reflection, and their actions align with their long-term vision. They don't need luck. They've built structure that produces results on repeat. That's what true mastery looks like. The power to create success on command. 9. They balance vision and peace. A system isn't about endless hustle, it's about harmony. Successful people balance ambition with inner peace. They don't sacrifice their well-being for achievement. They've learned that a well-lived life includes both growth and grace. Their systems make room for rest, laughter, stillness, and play. Because they know, what's the point of building an extraordinary life if you're too burned out to live it? Their ultimate system is simple. That rhythm keeps their success human, and their humanity successful. Their life is a masterpiece in progress. Each week, a brushstroke. Each system, a layer of structure and color. They no longer chase perfection. They pursue evolution. They know they'll fall, adjust, and rise again. But every cycle adds depth to their journey. Every reflection makes their art clearer. Every system makes their rhythm smoother. Success, they understand, isn't a destination. It's the art of alignment, repeated daily. From how successful people begin their weeks with power, to how they end them with reflection. From the energy they lead with to the systems that sustain them. The secret is not intensity, it's structure, powered by purpose. If you build your days, your weeks, and your habits around clarity, rhythm, and reflection, success becomes inevitable. It's no longer something you chase, it's something you embody. Because when your life runs on systems aligned with your deepest values, every day becomes progress, every week becomes growth, every year becomes legacy. So build your system, protect it, refine it, live it, and remember, the most successful people don't rely on luck, motivation, or talent. They rely on design. Now, take a deep breath. Your new system begins today. If this audiobook lit something inside you, that fire to reset, refocus, and rise stronger, don't let it fade. Every week is a new chapter in your story. Start it with clarity, live it with purpose, end it with reflection. And remember, success isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more. If this message moved you, subscribe to ReadFlow Audiobook. For more powerful journeys like this one, hit like, drop a comment with your favorite insight, and share this with someone who needs that spark today. Because together, we're not just listening, we're transforming. ReadFlow Audiobook, where your next level begins.